Welcome to Grounded with John Tester and Maritza Giorgio. Hey, do you have your coffee, Senator?
Damn it, I forgot it. I got
What?
I got it early, got up early, had 3 cups, and then I went out and blew off the combine and greased it up and forgot to grab a coffee before I came back downstairs.
Do you want to go grab it? I could
No,
bring on. Okay. We
I've
have a
had
lot
it.
of people.
I've
Okay. We've had enough. We have a lot of people joining us. We want to say thank you for being here. So today I'm really excited because we have joining us someone I just recently met in person and at Glenn Kirshner's event in Washington, D.C. And I was so excited to meet him because I've watched him on TV for a lot of years and he's such a smart guy and knows so much about stuff I know nothing about. So I want to bring on to the show right now as we're talking Frank Figluzzi, a former FBI Assistant Director for Counterintelligence, a 25-year veteran special agent, host of the Frank Figluzzi Show on Lincoln Square, right here on Substack, and also the author of 2 books. Frank, how do you do it all? That's a lot.
Well, look, we're all busy, and now I think we're all. First of all, thanks for having me, Senator and Maritza. I want to say that I have great respect for both of your work. So thanks for having me, and it was great to meet you in person, Maritza. Look, I there are many people who are busy. We're all busy, but I think we're extra motivated right now to work overtime, to try and say to our grandkids, we did do something when our democracy was in jeopardy. So not to get maudlin, but I'm busy because I feel I need to be busy. And yes, writing 2 books, it's a year of your life each time that at least for me, it is.
Right.
When
Wow.
I sit down and write a book, and the fact that one of them was a national bestseller because the nation was in jeopardy. My first book was The FBI Way, and it was motivated by Trump bashing the agency that I loved. And so the book came as simply easy for me. I had to
Right.
defend the agency that I dedicated much of my life to.
Frank, I just want to tell you, you served 25 years in the FBI. I served 18 years in the Senate. You had a much tougher job than I did, but I will tell you, one of the things we always had difficulty doing was getting enough FBI agents. I mean, there wasn't enough of you. There needed to be more of you, especially in Indian country, where crime is pretty high, poverty is pretty high. Those connect up. But it seems like today the FBI is even worse off than it was when I was in the U.S. Senate. Is that true from a standpoint?
Yeah, from if you want to do just straight up manpower, absolutely. It's worse off. In fact, Senator, the Bureau will not even publicly disclose the loss, I call it a hemorrhage, of employees
Mhm.
that's occurred in the second Trump administration. Now, they may claim, well, that's national security. That's nonsense. The staffing level, as you know, of the FBI is not classified. When you start getting into maybe programs, counterintelligence staffing, yeah, okay. But
Yeah.
so what we think we know is that between 3,000 and 5,000 FBI employees are now gone, and that's just recently. And that the categories for those include those who were literally walked out of the building because they happened to work on January 6 cases or some Trump case. Then the next category are people who were eligible for retirement and said, you know what, I'm eligible. I wanted to stay another 5, 10 years, but I'm out now. And then there are those who are being asked to do things right now that they find unethical, and they're literally resigning, no pension, nothing, and it makes us all more vulnerable. So, yeah, short answer, yes, it's understaffed. Patel thinks it should be cut more. As you know, he wants to cut headquarters, and he's reshifted people to violent crime because he thinks that's the sexy thing to do. But yeah, we got problems just from staffing, let alone what the mission has turned into.
So
I
I
was
don't.
gonna get in. Oh, go ahead, Senator.
Sorry, I probably jumped the gun on this shit, didn't I?
That's
So
okay.
I
That's
don't want to
okay.
put you on the spot, Frank, but what was the staffing when you were there, and when did you retire?
I retired in 2010, late 2010, and the total staffing level for the bureau was something like 38,000, with something like 14,000 of those are being special agents. And like I said, there have even before Patel took over, there were cuts. Chris Wray would go up on the Hill and bemoan the cuts and beg for cyber staffing. Particularly, he kept
Yeah.
throwing out numbers about how many the Chinese government has dedicated to cyber and how many the bureau has, and it's embarrassing. So it's been a steady death by a thousand cuts, but now the big cuts are hemorrhaging because of Patel and Todd Blanche.
I was gonna get into this in a little bit because I wanted to do some headlines, but while we're talking about it, let me just ask you. I mean, you talk about anywhere from 3 to 5,000 agents gone. Of the agents that remain, like, what percentage do you think are Trump loyalists at this point, and and who's there just kind of trying to be any kind of guardrail?
So that also it becomes a little difficult to get a handle on. I'll tell you why. 8 years on MSNBC, and people were pretty free to share with me, active duty folks, hey, this is what we're working on, without getting into trouble. But now Patel is ruling by fear and polygraph.
Mm.
So you may have seen the reports that
Oh,
he
that's right.
literally regularly polygraphs people, which I feel is an abuse of FBI resources because he's not polygraphing them on national security issues, that he's polygraphing them on whether they've said anything disparaging about the director, which is unbelievable. But um, yeah. So look, there's employees waiting it out till they're pension eligible. They're keeping their head down. The vast majority of employees just want to do their job and have no political interference in the field offices. That's hard because every U.S. attorney out there is a Trumpster right now, right? Um, so they there is a faction, and it's often the older agents, and often the agents who dedicated their life to violent crime cases, chasing fugitives around, which stopped after 9/11. In large part, 9/11 turned and pivoted the FBI into a true national security intelligence agency. And lots of the violent crime agents found that they were left out. And so now that Patel comes in and says our number one priority is, quote, crush violent crime, they love that. Just put me on the street. I don't want to do any paperwork, and I don't know how to do anything else. So there's that faction that's in there that says, yeah, I think I like this.
That's incredible. I forgot all about the polygraph story. That's the nature of how we get news right now, right? There's so much coming at us that I forgot all about that. But yeah, that's like it seems kind of like a hostile work environment to me. What do you think, Senator?
Well, it's interesting because I've got a friend that's thinking about rejoining the military, and he called me about it yesterday, and I said, "Man, I know his politics, and his politics ain't much different than mine." And I said, "If you say one thing bad about Trump, man, you're going to get court-martialed." And he said, "Well, what if I'm neutral?" And I said, "Well, good luck." The fact of the matter is, and then he said, "Well, this is the way it's always been." And this is something that people need to understand out there. This is not the way it's always been. I was not a big lover of George II Bush, but the guy had some values and had some morals and believed in our democracy. That doesn't exist right now. And anybody who counters the king or counters Patel's king too, they get a polygraph test? Really? You can't say anything negative or critical about anybody because, my God, the president and Patel are perfect in every way. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. And the sad part is, Frank, from my perspective, is that people like you, people that work on the ground, people that know the FBI, their opinions should be valued and encouraged to be gotten. Not say, "Well, did you say anything bad against me? Because if you do, I'm gonna demote you or fire you or make life so miserable you wanna quit." It's
Yeah.
just crazy.
Yeah, it's a paranoid environment of leadership right now, and there is reporting coming out that you for promotions, when they hold promotion boards, a key factor is who you voted for and your politics, and they'll actually run. There's reports that they'll run your social media to see if you've ever said anything ill of Trump. Mr. Driscoll, who served briefly as the acting director of the FBI when it was demanded of him that he turn over all the agents' names who worked January 6 cases, and he refused, and he got fired for refusing, and he has no pension. he is now publicly speaking out, and he says when he was considered for director, and it's happening with other promotions, he was asked point blank who you voted for.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
the fealty here is unbelievable, and we heard
Freedom, right?
free. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay, so for our audience, we kinda just jumped right in with Frank.
Sorry, it was my fault. It was my fault. I just had a
Uh,
question because I remember trying to get agents up down at Crow and Northern Cheyenne
oh,
because they didn't have enough, and it was hard. It was really hard,
Yeah.
and
yeah,
that's before
well,
they destroyed the agency.
I mean, it's a really good question, and it's something, we've talked about with all kinds of, people on this show is the cutting from all these departments, all the Doge cuts in the very beginning, and how people and these agencies and these departments are surviving and how morale is. I do wanna jump back and do some headlines, if that's okay, because there are a couple of things I wanted to ask about. I have to actually, though, really quick mention, give a nod to Frank for wearing his Western Montana shirt today,
There, you know,
with the pearl buttons, like, he showed up ready to
I'm
talk
ready for
to us.
Montana. I'm ready for Montana.
it's
He's
good.
ready for Montana. We need to get him out here for a vacation because I think he's only been out here for work. So, all right, let's talk about, the debt, folks, because Senator, I have a feeling you're gonna have something to say about this, and Frank, you jump in if you wanna chime in.
Oh,
But, yesterday, the big news that came out, the US debt has now hit $40 trillion despite President Trump's big promises of fiscal order, reducing the debt. The Congressional Budget Office actually projected previously that we wouldn't hit this mark till 2028. So I guess we're winning. The US is now spending more on interest payments than on national defense. And I want to be really clear here. Both Republicans and Democrats have played their roles in this. But we should mention that in his first campaign, Trump promised to eliminate the national debt within 8 years, and it has doubled since then. Take it away, Senator.
Well, I mean, look, um, let me ask you, a guy that's declared bankruptcy 6 or 7 times, would you classify that person as being good with money? I would not. And, he's the CEO of the United States right now. He's the president of the United States, and he is spending money like he always has spent money, and that's what's driven him into bankruptcy. Unfortunately, he's driving the country into bankruptcy. I think as a Democrat, I think that that's a huge problem, and we need to fix it, and we can fix it. But you can't fix it by going in and hollowing out government right out of the bat, which is what Elon did with his Doge things, waste, fraud, and abuse my ass. They got rid of some important people within these agencies. And then you tear down the East Wing and build a golden mansion at taxpayer expense. You go into Iran at taxpayer expense. You drop bombs and missiles, so many that we don't have any left at taxpayers' expense. He's talking about 1.5 trillion for the defense budget. Are you kidding me? It's insane. The guy spends money like nobody I've ever seen. And by the way, I served with some folks who like to spend money, but this dude spends it like nobody I ever served with, and that's a fact. If you think this guy's conservative, take a look at his history. He is not.
Okay. Frank, you have anything you want to add, or should we move on?
oh yeah. Look, the file this national debt under promises made, promises broken. As you said,
Uh,
he promised to bring that. I think when he came on, it was like $20 trillion or something, and he was going to get rid
yeah.
of that easily. Easily, he said, like
You-
water, money will be flowing like water, or something stupid. And then he's had a quote. I saw it yesterday that he has strategic. He didn't say it this eloquently, but he said, when I asked about the debt, he said, I've used debt to make money. That's a good thing. He's an idiot. We're not talking about strategically declaring bankruptcy here. We're talking about running our nation into the ground, and it's a self-inflicted wound. He didn't have to do this. He this is largely in many ways driven by Iran and the cost of
Yep.
Iran, and yes, $1 trillion defense budget. We're spending money like we don't have any pride of ownership of the country, and then juxtapose that against the affordability issues that people are dealing with at home. Nobody's people are canceling their vacation. They're never going out to eat at a restaurant. They don't know where the groceries are going to come from next week. And this guy is getting wealthy as he runs the budget down into the ground.
Yeah, I think that's the thing is, like, the effect on the ground, it's not good, and people are struggling, I mean, I talk about this all the time, but I see so many asks for help in my local Facebook groups, right, and my local social media groups, people begging for help to get I saw one this morning, a mother asking for help to get her kid some Tylenol because 'cause they're sick. It's heartbreaking to see all that, and meanwhile, people in the administration keep getting richer. But I do want to ask you about this. So we have some news on Iran and the Strait, and Frank put out kind of a video yesterday that I want to ask about. So right now, the U.S. is reportedly conducting these stealth missions to move oil through the Strait of Hormuz. Officials say that it's been underway for the last several weeks. Axios is reporting about 10 million barrels of oil a day are moving through a southern channel along the coast of Oman. Well, for now. But while that's happening, we have the USS George Washington moving from the Pacific to the Middle East to relieve the USS Abraham Lincoln. You remember those reports of the terrible conditions aboard that carrier, the long deployment there. The sailors are there for way longer than they were supposed to be. And Frank, you talked about this yesterday. So the George Washington is the last carrier deployed in Asia. You say that the Chinese are absolutely looking at this moment. So help us unpack this a little more. What do we need to be watching for here?
So, this is a big real life chess game. Where do we put our subs, which are always classified? Where do we put our carrier groups? But it's well established that the George Washington was the carrier group in the Pacific. And in a time when China is constantly testing our boundaries, how close can they get to Taiwan? How many times can they go into out of international waters and into Taiwan's perimeter? All of that, with many experts saying China wants to and intends to take Taiwan in the next few years. If you're China, which is part of my counterintelligence life, right? Pretend you're seeing the world through the eyes of the adversary. If you're looking at this now, you're saying US has expended munitions to a dangerous level. Our oil reserves are drained. We can talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
We literally called off escalation of the war in Iran because I don't think we have the missile to it. Yeah, if you're China, you're going, hey, let's really test this. And I have to say, if you're Trump in this current scenario, I don't think you're even positioned to do anything about it if China tries to make a move in Taiwan.
I don't disagree with Frank at all on this. I mean, I think that we've because of the Trump's war of choice in Iran, we've taken our eye off of one of the major threats to the United States and this country, both economically and militarily. They play the long game, and they don't have to wait that long. The resources are heading out, and I don't see Taiwan being able to do this alone. So I think it's very, very unfortunate. Taiwan's been an ally of ours, and by the way, Taiwan's been something the Republican Party has supported forever. And so this is another change that we see with the MAGA Republicans. They don't give a damn. They don't give a damn about Ukraine. They don't give a damn about Taiwan. I don't think they give a damn about Iran and $1 billion a day going to them too. But they're afraid to speak up and call this president out for what he is.
Well, let me
I
play.
look, and Maritza, I just to kind of tack on because this really this is quite a thread of conversation. It has so many layers to it.
Right.
First, I don't think what's being reported enough, and we'll certainly never hear this from the Trump administration, is the reason we're in the mess that the Abraham Lincoln is experiencing now with abysmal conditions is not because they've been out too long, but rather that Iran has damaged our supply bases in the region. They've
Yeah.
bombed our bases that would ordinarily be able to send the palleted supplies, hygiene, and more even more important products. So again, another self-inflicted wound. People think, oh yeah, they're out. Those poor guys and gals, they're out there too long. They can go long if they get supplies. And so and it's our fault that they don't have the supplies because Iran attacked those bases.
Yeah.
We don't hear that enough. And then with regard to oil reserves, the price of gas, the fact that we think about this, what you just said, we have to sneak oil out through the horse. Gee whiz, boy, we really won this war, didn't we? We
Right. It was
before the
open.
war, before the war, we didn't have to sneak oil, and we have now drained our oil reserves in the U.S. to the point where, and I talked about this on my Substack show yesterday, to the point where experts are saying, these underground caverns where we store our oil reserves, they're collapsing. Every time you have to pump water to get the oil out of the reserve cavern, you're destroying the salt walls, and the caverns are designed only to hold to take 5 different dips into the reserve, and we've done that already, and it
Wow.
drained, and the pumping equipment, it's like running on empty on your car to the point where your fuel pump goes on you.
Wow. Well, let me play this clip for you because as we're talking about this, I mean, you two know a lot more about national security than I do, right? Both from your time, Frank, in counterintelligence, and Senator, your time as the chairman of the Defense Subcommittee on Appropriations. But I want to play this clip from a South Carolina GOP debate that happened this week when Greta Van Susteren asked newly sworn in Senator Darlene Graham, Lindsey Graham's little sister, about Taiwan and the South China Sea. Let's play this.
Senator, are Taiwan and the South China Sea national security issues for the United States? If so, why?
Um, I'm sorry, could you repeat the
If
question?
are Taiwan and the South China Sea national security issues for the United States, and if so, why or how?
I'm just gonna be honest here. I'm not on national security that I'm not that informed on national security, but I do support the military. My brother was in the Air Force for 33 years, so I will do everything I can to support the military. My dad was in the Army. I'm not a polished politician up here. National security is not my thing, not my area of expertise, but I do support the military.
Okay, so again, we all have our lanes, we all have our areas. I don't want to be too mean about that, but what do you think? Do you think that someone who's running for a permanent, or, well, a new term in the Senate should know about that?
Is this for Frank or me?
Either one, you guys take it away.
Go ahead, Senator.
Well, all I'll say is there's good and bad here. The good thing is she's at least she was honest.
Yep. No.
100%.
She said
100%.
straight up, "I don't know shit about this," and she didn't. The second thing I'll say, if you continued playing that clip, is her opponent actually knew a little bit about Taiwan and answered the question in a way that may have not shown that he's, really, really, really sharp on the issue, but understood it. And I think that it's unfortunate she wasn't better prepared by her staff because, quite frankly, if you're running for the U.S. Senate, you're expected to know about a lot of shit that you don't know about,
Right.
and over time, you better know that. Now, I know they've only been at this for, what, a month or so, 6 weeks since Lindsay died, but the bottom line is your staff has to prepare you better for these questions and these line of questioning because it's coming. I mean, national defense and who's our friends and who's our enemies is something you need to have basic, rudimentary knowledge of, and she didn't, and we'll see if that affects her when the election rolls around, which is when? Wait, so when is that election?
Oh, come on. I don't well, November,
Okay, no,
right?
no, really? It's on the November? No shit. Well, I mean, you could be right. I mean,
Yeah,
wow.
because she was he Lindsay was
It's
running,
just 2
right? Am I
Republicans
right?
2 Republicans running for November. Okay, we got it. I don't know. I'll trust you. You're the journalist.
Well, she was appointed to I think I'm right. I think she was appointed to take her brother's seat, but he was up for reelection.
That's correct. He was up for election, but the question
Oh,
I
you're
had,
saying as a primary.
yeah,
Oh,
is this
I don't
primary?
know.
Because there should be
I don't know. Senator, was it yesterday? I don't know.
I think the question here is, right? I mean, the three of us on this show right now are taken aback by, the notion of someone running for Senate that they really can't even return a question about China and Taiwan. But the larger question I see right now is, does anyone give a damn in South Carolina? I mean,
Well,
I think
yeah.
we're way beyond um, people caring about the most pertinent threat issues, at least a certain voting bloc. Right? And you see these MAGA folks interviewed, they're clueless and they they don't care. And so the question is really, yeah, she doesn't know a damn thing, and yes, she was honest. And that, by the way, that was the smartest thing she could have done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because the alternative would be to fake it, and now you're into an entire nuanced trap, which is, if let's say she said something like, "Well, Taiwan, I support the rights of free people to remain free and from oppression." The next question then is, "Oh, so you support Ukraine?" Oh,
Right.
you get into very dangerous territory, and so that was very safe of her to go, "I don't know an effing thing about this." But the
Yeah.
question I have is, does anybody care that she doesn't know anything?
Well, okay, Senator Tester's question was a smart one because the primary was this week. She won, but not enough to avoid a runoff, okay? So it's gonna go to a runoff, and that runoff is scheduled for the 25th, so next week. So there you go. There, we
Wow.
figured it out, folks. We figured it out live on Substack. All right. The last headline I have, and then I really do want to get into some national security stuff with you, Frank. But I do want to just say I don't know if I should even give this attention, but Michael Cohen, Trump's former fixer, who then turned outspoken critic, well, he's apparently back in the inner circle because not only have those two had a few meetings in person, Cohen is actually hosting the president on his new radio show today. He said they reconciled, but he stopped short of saying if he'll ask for clemency for his conviction in that hush money case. Any thoughts here, folks?
My God. I Look, just real quick, people show us who they are and when they're under stress, and he's under stress. He's become irrelevant. We keep learning more and more about Michael's role in really disturbing things, and
Yeah.
I think what's more important to him is getting the relevancy back, earning some money, because he has a family and he may have taken some big hits with legal defenses. He's extremely bitter. Long ago, I had been on his show a couple times. I stopped that about a year ago when again some more information came out about how involved he was in things, and even allegedly some theft that was reported.
Mm,
I, I got I'm okay with people changing their political postures and things and seeing the light, but yeah, thievery is a problem. And so when I saw that again, I want to say it's an allegation, but
yeah.
long story short, we shouldn't be giving Trump any more friendly airtime. No one should. And you mentioned the word reconciled. He's like you said, reconciled.
Mhm.
Reconciled with what? A
Right.
convicted felon? Someone who's been held liable for sexual assault? What are you reconciled with? I don't.
Right.
We should be reconciled with nothing.
Right. Right. Yeah. I know. He was on our show, I don't know, last year at some point, and yeah, I mean, this has been something to watch. But we see this. I mean, we've seen this time and time again with Donald Trump. People are very outspoken. I mean, look at half the cabinet, right? I will never forget hearing all the things Marco Rubio said about Donald Trump when he ran in 2016, and now he's Secretary of State. So we've seen this like they just get sucked back in. It's like a vortex. Senator, you have anything you wanna say before we
Well,
start
I mean,
asking about yeah.
I think I go back to Frank's previous comment about the people of South Carolina and Taiwan, that people really care.
People
And
care.
I don't know if people really care what the hell Michael Cohen does at this point in time. But the point that Frank made about giving him airtime, yeah, that's kind of crazy. He's doing that so he can make some money. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that.
Okay, so Frank, let's talk about some, national security counterintelligence. Let me start with this. What do you think is the most important counterintelligence story right now that we should be, heightened about or at least on alert about?
All right, I've got to put this into two buckets because ordinarily when people talk about counter intel, they're talking about the foreign threat. That's what I did for a living. I led all counter intel investigations in the bureau, and that was always about what we called the three Ds: detect, deter, and defeat the foreign intelligence service efforts to harm the U.S. interests. Um, so in the international, I'm in a minute, I'm going to get to the domestic threat, which I think sadly is bigger and more existential than the international
Mm,
threat. But I'll get to that in a second. On the international scale, it's what we just talked about. It's that we are the more vulnerable. I said this publicly. I said it Saturday night, Maritza, at Glenn's dinner when I
yep.
spoke. We are more vulnerable now than we were on the eve of 9/11. 9/11 was a non-existential external threat. What we're dealing with now is an internal, potentially external threat to our democracy. And so we are militarily vulnerable. We're very vulnerable on the cyber side. We're vulnerable on the bio attack. We are diminished in resources munitions wise. As we just said, we're repositioning carrier groups because we don't know what the hell we're doing. And if people always want you to name countries. Yes, from a long term perspective, China has a declared domination strategy. You can't ignore it when they tell you what they want to do. So, yeah, it's easy to pick China. But I'm concerned overall about the cyber vulnerabilities in the United States generally. I'm actually surprised that Iran hasn't done a major denial of service attack. And I think they're quite capable of doing it. And I think they're showing signs of it right now. They're waving hello in our water infrastructure. So vulnerability, yes, China, but as a generic bucket, I would say it's the cyber threat. And then let's move to, which is something we never talked about in when I was the head of counterintel. Let's talk about the domestic threat and
Right.
combine the two. That foreign intel services are actually helping with propaganda and disinformation and misinformation. They'll do it in a big way in the midterms, and trying to shape the minds of Americans and how we think. We are still our greatest concern right now, and that's a sobering thought.
The question is either one of those, either international or domestic, uh, threats, any sort of priority for this administration and the FBI right now?
We've gutted. That's a great question because you can always tell how seriously a nation takes a threat by how many resources they throw at it and how they prioritize it. And we've gutted the very agencies and units and people who would actually attack the problem. The Cyber Infrastructure Security Agency is gutted because simply Trump didn't like the fact that they were claiming that the election was secure. So, Chris Krebs famously said it was the most secure election we've ever had. He was the head of cybersecurity. That's gutted. The domestic terror units and sections at headquarters at FBI are gutted. In her first week on the job, Pam Bondi got rid of the Foreign Influence Task Force. She got rid of the cryptocurrency tracking and criminal crypto crimes tracking unit
Or
at DOJ. We're we're currently down 25% of DOJ attorneys and 16,000 employees at DOJ, the people who would prosecute and lead national security investigations. Yeah, no, we can't fight the threat. And in some cases, Senator, I believe we're welcoming the threat.
yeah, I think that I mean, when you said that, Frank, so for people who don't know, Glenn Kirshner hosts, what I forgot what he calls it, but it's a dinner every year.
Justice Matters dinner.
Justice
Justice Matters.
Matters dinner, yes, and so, in fact, I have one of his little gavels here. It's a little phone gavel, but when you said that on the stage, Frank, that is actually what made me come over to you and say, "I really want you to come on our show," because we think about 9/11 as this huge, landmark moment in this country where we felt like we were caught off guard and, "Oh my gosh, how can this happen here?" And you say that we are more, vulnerable now than we were then, and that's really scary, and we see that, like you mentioned, we saw that in the attacks, um, in what is it? Across 20 states. We saw it in Minnesota and Michigan, the attacks on the critical water systems. So, is there one like, how worried should we be about the critical infrastructure threats to our country right now? Like you said, you're surprised Iran hasn't done more.
Yeah, on a non-war footing, on any given day, our infrastructure was extremely vulnerable. We don't, unlike China and Russia and others, we don't mandate, and by the way, this is a flaw, we don't say, "If you're part of the infrastructure, congratulations. We love that you're the number 1 supplier of beef or oil, or you pick it in the United States, but we also have some other news for you. If you wanna be in the varsity, you've gotta follow the following cybersecurity mandates." We don't
Mhm.
do that, and we don't do it enough. Colonial Pipeline should have taught us that, but it really has not. And, now add the war footing we're on. We are at war with the world's greatest sponsor of terrorism. The greatest state sponsor of terrorism, historically, is Iran. And yes, not to overblow their capabilities, and who knows if we even have current intel on how badly they can hurt us, but they absolutely have, impressive cyber capabilities. All of my sources and the third parties that are weighing in on these state incursions into their water systems are saying, "This absolutely looks like the Iranian signature." For God's sakes, the FBI said it. The only person denying it is Donald Trump because it's embarrassing that he's got his adversary doing this.
Right,
So,
he blamed Minnesota. He blamed the state of
well, the governor
Minnesota.
of Minnesota, it's his fault. He's incompetent. But
Right.
there's that. So let's take that. That's what I'm saying is so you can we shouldn't be in a position to blame the governor of Minnesota. We should have mandated system securities so that we can drink our water. And,
Mm.
Iran has done this before. We've attributed a water supply issue, a dam. They broke into a dam control system. We know they can do it. They wave hello every day in the systems. Others can do it. So, in addition to the domestic hacking issues we're concerned about, now we've got Iran. And then don't even, get into whether Russia will or North Korea will pretend to be Iran in a cyber attack and totally
Ah.
mess us up.
Yeah, it's, well, what do you say when you're knee deep in shit other than when do when do you think the trigger's gonna be for this? Because if for the folks that don't like us out there don't like us. And the folks, by the way, domestically wanna, blow shit up and, just make the world a mess. Do you think that your crystal ball tell you when this kind of stuff may come to a head?
So there's a g there this is sad, but good news. It's amazing. I'm gonna classify this as good news. Iran has so much leverage right now in this war that they are in control, so to speak. They've taken the hits. They've they've sustained themselves. And so they've come out and said, "We don't think," they've actually said, "We don't think Trump is competent enough to be negotiating with." And then Trump kind of tried to match that recently and said, "I've told my people to stop talking." My people being Jared Kushner. Stop talking to Iran.
Right.
So what's my point? You mentioned what would trigger some kind of devastating, perhaps cyber attack or otherwise, even a real terror attack. I think Iran is sitting in the catbird seat right now. I don't think they have to. I think that they think they're winning, right? We could argue that, but they're like, and they know that if they do something truly devastating, like a denial of service attack, or they blow up someone's embassy in Washington, um, they're facing the possibility of a nuclear or tactical nuclear attack. I truly believe that, and we can talk about that in a second. So I actually, ironically, I think that the pause button is on right now because Iran doesn't need to do anything, and so that's actually a good thing. What would get them actually acting out offensively against the U.S. interests? I think it's almost a last step attack, desperation. But they're not. Yeah, they're not ready. They're sitting there toying with us right now in water systems, and they're enjoying it. That's just my take on things. The other thing is if we go outside Iran and China wants to make a move or North Korea gets bored, they can easily pretend to be Iran and really have them mess us up. Air traffic control, FAA, 9/11 systems, all of that. Oh, how about ATM banking? All of that could be impacted. We know they can do it.
What about domestically? You talked about domestic impacts and domestic threats. Are you looking at that in areas of cyber or other areas where there's the domestic threat?
So with regard to outright terrorism, I again, Iran has the capability. It wouldn't be the first time that they've put people on the ground here. Um, they have the IRGC and the Quds Force would be the overseas arm of the IRGC and such things. I don't particularly. I think Hezbollah and Hamas have been so degraded that they've lost the
Mhm.
capability to go forward. But we should really worry about IRGC and Quds Force. We don't know who's here. Um, Ironically, we kind of took our eyes off the ball with Iran because we were like, well, it's Hezbollah that they would act out with, and we hadn't seen any cases in the bureau recently that were any more than money couriering. So we broke off that caseload. I think we're somewhat blind to Hezbollah's ability and who they got here right now. Um,
Mm,
but I also worry again. I back to domestic, just purely domestic. We are talking about we've pardoned the January 6th knuckleheads. Todd Blanche last week talked about how he's going to put guns back in their hands, right? He's got this new program where you can petition as a felon to get your gun back because, Second Amendment rules
yeah.
everything. You arm them, you pay them money because the slush fund may have gone away, but people as we speak are applying for the old fashioned way to say they were wronged by the federal government. There's a way to do that and get money. So pay them, arm them, pardon them, tell them that the midterms are fraud. And here we go again. That
That
concerns me.
Yeah, that concerns me too. And then one of our viewers actually asked us to ask you about that, kind of the threats to the election, because this is an election. I don't have to tell anyone here where Democrats are expected to perform very well. And already we have the president trying to do all kinds of things to undermine that. And I go back to this clip. I actually downloaded it because when Jay Clayton was on Capitol Hill, um, and he was being questioned by the Senate to be the director of national intelligence. I mean, I'll play this little exchange with Senator Ossoff.
On the 2020 election.
I'm not going to do this with you.
This is a job interview. We've established that you have an obligation to
pretty
be
interesting.
honest and forthright with the committee. Yes, you do have an obligation to be honest and forthright with the committee.
Yes.
Who won the 2020 election?
Like I said, I'm not going to get into that with you.
But you do have an obligation to be honest and forthright with the committee.
Is anything that I just said not honest or forthright?
Yes, you're not being honest or forthright. Who won the
I think
2020
I've answered
election?
the question. We can keep doing this.
Well, we're going to
So, I mean, that went on and on and on and on and on. If he can't just say who won the 2020 election, what concerns do you have about threats to this election, Frank?
Mhm. Wow, the track record is there. We don't need to engage in conjecture. We've had an acting DNI who immediately cut loose reportedly hundreds of employees, particularly from the Counterterrorism Center, who were detailed there from their respective agencies. Think about that. The first thing you do as an acting DNI is you tell the people at the Counterterrorism Center to go home. What in God's name are you doing? You want to talk about vulnerability, but with regard to elections, they're telling us what they're going to do. We've seen it. Um, Trump's been asked to declare a national emergency. So there's good news, bad news. I have lots of folks on my show, and this has become a real focus of mine. I'm having secretaries of state on. I'm having attorneys general on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so good news, they are ready. They're telling me, look, and they've done tabletop exercises. I believe Congress is also engaged in tabletops. And I throw scenarios at them, and they're scary scenarios. FBI agents show up with a search warrant a la Fulton County, Georgia. And some DOJ monitor at some polling place in Nevada or Arizona is saying they saw fraud. And there goes a friendly magistrate signing off on an FBI search warrant. FBI agents show up in the middle or right after the election, and they grab the ballots in a key swing state or precinct. What do you do with that? And they've got plans for that, but so good news. We're at what, 24-0, 24 wins, 0 losses
Yep.
for people trying to mess with Trump, trying to mess with the election and get his hands on voter records. Everybody tells me the law will hold, the Constitution is clear, the president can't mess with the election. Law, law, law. I love it. It's great. Yes. But you got to go to court, and it's a mess. Nevada Secretary of State telling me we'll have judges up all night. But very nice, but I get that, but people are going to go, there's fraud. There was a search warrant. We're in a court battle over, where's my ballots? So the FBI has them. It's
Yeah.
chaos. It's chaos. And I see standoffs. I mean, worst case scenario, we've got armed militia people. We've got constitutional sheriffs who are helping Trump, red governors helping Trump. We have state troopers and sheriffs who are told to stand off against FBI agents. And we have an attorney general now who said there's nothing wrong with ICE agents being deployed to the polls. Yeah, it could be a total mess.
Well, shoot, I don't feel very good about that. Senator.
Well, I mean, I think the sad part is we're in the United States of America, and who would have thunk we'd be here
Yeah.
in this position, where you've got a president that's claiming the election was stolen when it wasn't, trying potentially to steal the next election. We'll see how it works out. I mean, I hope it goes flawlessly. I think Democrats are going to mop on a lot of these races that aren't even in the mix right now. And so that will put some sideboards on the president's ability to destroy our democracy. And we'll see if he refutes that somehow with all the things that Frank just said. It's a scary
Well,
time.
it is a scary time, and you're so right, Frank. So many of these election officials in states are saying we're ready. We are ready. It's going to be a secure election. David Becker, our friend, who is so brilliant when it comes to election integrity and security, he says they've got it. But I think it's just a reminder. Like, watch for any inconsistencies. Um, be be vocal. If you see something, say something, and hopefully it goes off without a flaw. So I think we're out of time with you, but I can't let you go because I heard something last weekend. Senator, I think that maybe we should get in on this with Grounded. Do you know that Frank and Glenn Kirshner have had a justice cruise? Is
Yeah.
that a real thing? You guys take your followers on a cruise?
We did. In fact, yeah, it's my second time hosting a cruise. We look here's our thinking on this, and we may do it again. We need community, right? Just having that dinner with that group Saturday
Yeah.
night was part of a reminder that we're in the majority on this. We are, and we forget that, particularly if we live in red or purple states, and people want very much to come together. And so we felt like, if you wanted to actually take a breather, be around like-minded people, how better than to get on a ship in the ocean, and and we sit and talk with our folks. They ask questions. We do various scenarios, and so people might say, hey, I can't afford a cruise. What's the matter with you? Read the room. And I go, absolutely. That's why we have shows, Substack shows. But for
Yep.
for those who can and want to feel part of a community, and by the way, as Glenn said Saturday night, have some fun. we're buried in this, right?
Yeah.
We've had our lives disrupted. Call time out, be among like-minded people. Yes, you guys should do it. I know there's a great cruise, industry in Montana, and
Yes, we are known for our cruises,
Yeah.
actually.
Incredible cruise.
Yeah,
Incredible.
yeah, it's, grizzly bears, huckleberries, and cruises. That's what we're known for.
Uh,
That would be really fun, though. I love that idea, and you're so right. Like, and I think that's why this community on Substack and beyond is so special, is that it really does feel like community, and it's so interactive. It's not, I spent years doing television journalism, where you both were commentators also, and it's great, but you don't get that instant engagement that we get here, and it's very cool, and it does feel supportive, and it does feel a little bit hopeful at the end of the day.
it does indeed. And thank you.
Okay.
Thanks for your community and what both of you are doing as well.
Oh,
we appreciate you, Frank, and, you're not Italian, are you?
What gave that away? Yeah, both sides of the family.
Okay.
oh boy. Oh, but I bet you grew up eating really well.
I did probably too well, to be honest with you. I think there's genetic factors that have kicked in now with,
Oh,
yeah,
oh boy.
pasta as comfort food.
Yeah, I understand that. Well, we just want to say thank you, Frank Puglisi. Thank you so much for just going through a whole range of issues with us this morning, getting up early with us. We really appreciate you and hope you'll come back.
Oh, will do. Yeah. See you next time.
Okay.
Take
All
care,
right.
man.
Thanks,
Take care.
Frank. Oh, that was such a great, like, I have so many, like, we just went on and on. I have so many questions we could have asked him. I do need a quick housekeeping note because I can't forget this. Tomorrow is a very special day for our grounded community. Do you know what's happening tomorrow, Senator?
Oh, it's the 60-day point of, summer?
No. Mm-mm.
No,
Tomorrow, August 21st, 2026, is John Tester's 70th birthday. You don't, you just don't have
what's
any reaction to that?
what's the next topic, okay? What's the next
Well, I just wanna say happy birthday. Since we won't be live tomorrow, we gotta celebrate you a little bit. I was with Katie Fang and Ellie Leonard this weekend at that event, and they're both, Leos also. It was Ellie Leonard's birthday a couple days ago. It was Katie Fang's birthday a couple weeks ago, so you're in good company,
Yeah,
according to the astrological chart.
I'm right at the end of the Leo classification. I mean, I just think now, like, just a couple days you turn into, was it Virgo in September? I think so. But anyway, thanks.
Ah.
Thanks for the happy birthday. I appreciate it.
I know. People wanna know about that sewing machine behind you.
That's my wife's sewing machine. She actually sewed the pants I'm wearing because
Yeah.
I caught them on a nail and then started out just a little bitty triangle.
Oh,
And
yeah.
in about a week and a half, it was like 6 by 6. And so my wife fixed them so now I can wear them again and get them through the season. So
Okay, so I know you're dying to get on the combine, just a couple of things. People keep asking us to address the Montana Senate race. Let me just say this. Here's what I'll say about this, and I'll let you go on. There is so much misinformation around the Montana Senate race. So for people who live outside of Montana, we had a primary. Democrat won the Democratic primary. There is a Republican who won the Republican primary, but he was chosen at the very last minute by Senator Steve Daines, who pulled out of the race. I mean, like with 2 minutes to spare for the filing deadline. And then we have independent candidate Seth Bodner, who we are going to have on our show. I just confirmed
good.
yesterday. He's going to come on in the next couple of weeks. So I just want to say that, folks, there is so much misinformation out there. And I think that a lot of times people attribute so much misinformation to one party right now. But I'm seeing a lot of misinformation on the Democratic side here too, and big leaps being made and big assumptions being made that are just not true. So be smart, do your research, figure things out, ask questions. But I just want to say on behalf of my co-host, in support of my co-host who turns 70 tomorrow as your birthday present.
Easy, easy.
John Tester does not have as much power as people think he does.
Not
They
a
are
very
accusing they are accusing you of a whole lot of stuff,
yeah,
and every time I see it, it's like, what do you think he's doing? He really
look,
is not pulling the strings like you think
yeah,
he is.
I think the people who are doing the accusing, um, know better. But that aside, I would just say, look at the candidates. Um, the people for the people inside this state that are watching this podcast, just take a look at the candidates. Do your due diligence on the candidates, and you'll find out that Seth Bodner is head and shoulders above everybody else that's running in this race, and it ain't even close. And um, unfortunately, there's been a lot of claims made that are inaccurate, but all that doesn't matter if you look at the candidates. And in Montana, you've got the ability to go out and meet candidates and ask them questions, get online, do your due diligence. We got a lot of folks out there, a lot of folks on the far left, by the way, that think voting for a person who voted for Donald Trump and is pro life is right up their alley. I don't see it, but that's fine. That's fine. And I'm not talking about the Republican. I'm talking about the Democrat in this race. So we will see what happens. But in the end, I think it's really unfortunate for all sorts of people that there's so much bullshit out there. But it fits the people who want to blow things up on both sides of the aisle. Unfortunately, the folks who want to blow things up haven't asked themselves, "What are you going to do after you blow stuff up?"
Hmm. Yeah,
That's the way it is. It's the way it is. It's fine.
I just thought, like, because you and I are I mean, I'm gonna say I know you probably don't claim this, but I'll claim it. I consider you a close friend.
Jesus Christ, life's that tough, huh? All right, that's good.
I know you don't claim me as a close friend, but I consider you a close friend, which means that, we talk about things and, this idea that you had any involvement in being the one to reach out to Seth Bodner and not the other way around is just that's just not true. It's
Well,
just
I
not true.
also it's also unfair to Seth. I mean, Seth did his due diligence before he got in this race, and all of the things you do if you're running for the U.S. Senate is you call people. Um, when I took over the president of the Montana Senate, I called every past president, Democrat and Republican, and talked to them about that job. It's the same thing if you're running. You go talk to people who have done the job before, and that's what he did. But unfortunately, people are trying to make excuses that make no sense whatsoever. I had a good friend of mine, by the way, claim that I had raised the money that allowed for Lanny Bankhead to win the primary. Nothing could be further from the truth. I actually wanted Riley Neal to win because there were accusations made that I wanted to see if they were true. And
Mm,
when Alani won, those accusations don't matter anymore. She's not
yeah.
so
Well,
it's the way it is. It's the way it is. People like conspiracy theories and they just go down the road of whatever sounds good, you'll take it and run with it when there's no facts to it. By the way, and if you don't know, I'm working in a bipartisan way with former Governor Roscoe and a former candidate for the House, Gary Buchanan, to try to get an initiative passed with Jeff Mangan's overall visionary leadership that'll stop the corporate money going into these elections. So the folks out there that think I'm raising corporate money for these candidates, they're so full of bullshit that they can't walk straight, quite frankly. So it's the way it is. But he talked, Frank talked about relevancy. This is all about people who aren't relevant, who want to be relevant.
mm.
And they're probably getting relevant by passing along a bunch of bullshit. But it's fine. I just want
Yeah.
and I want to go out and harvest wheat right now. So I gotta
Right
go.
now, he's like, "I gotta go." Okay, really quick, we have Rahm Emanuel on with us next week on Wednesday. Your hat is, oh boy, Real Time with Bill Maher.
I just found this bad boy. I didn't even know I had it, you know? But
You how many times have you been on Bill Maher's show?
2 or 3, I can't remember.
Okay.
I think it's at
Well,
least 2, maybe 3, I don't remember.
We didn't have time to talk about the roadless rule. It's important to us. I will talk about it next time. There is a proposal to repeal that rule. We'll get into it next time next week with Rahm Emanuel. We want to say thanks so much to Frank Figluzzi for joining us. Just a great conversation about national security. Make sure you go follow him. Make sure you follow him on Substack and all of his channels. He's just a great resource of information. We want to thank all of you who joined us here, both live and are listening later. We can't do this without you, without this community. We want to thank Pearl Jam for letting us use their music. Is there anything I missed?
No, you brought up the roadless rule. This is a big deal. I'm telling you, all these people out there, Republicans mainly, that say we're all about public lands. We want to protect public lands. You want to make our public lands into something they're not, ignore this rule. It's bullshit. And the
Yeah,
administration and the Secretary of Ag, um, wrong way to go about this. If you want to do forest management, do forest management. I'm all about it, but you don't do it by cutting the roadless rule out and letting people run all over our public lands without any rules or regulations. All right, thanks.
okay. Hey, wait. Happy birthday, Senator. Happy early birthday.
Listen, I feel like I've turned 80 now. You said it at least 10 times, so it's good. All I have to say to the folks out there is be well and tally ho.